Hello, my name is John Payne. I'm the chairman and CEO and chief researcher at Pure Life Health Sciences Group. Pure Life Health Sciences Group is a peer research organization. We've been doing research in metabolic syndrome diseases for in excess of 50 years. We have specialized in type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and all forms of dementia. And over the last 10 to 12 years, once it was discovered that autism was, well, not solely, was primarily a metabolic disorder, we focused all of our attention on trying to work with how we can contribute to the improvement and health of autistic children and adults. There's many adults who are on the spectrum also. And we're here to discuss some new improvements in the treatment for autism spectrum disorder.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nageena, actor, CEO and founder of Neuroactive Health Hub here in Dubai. I'm a Neuro Pediatric Chiropractor who has a strong focus on working with children with neurodevelopmental delays and neurobehavioral disorders, my specialism being in autism spectrum disorders from my own personal experience with my son being diagnosed at 3 years old. So I'm excited to be here today to discuss your amazing research that you've been doing.
Dr. Nageena, in your practice, you see children before and after starting gut support. What differences do you notice in their behavior, focus, and ability to participate in therapy?
So definitely with the brain integration exercises that I'm addressing in the clinic, the gut health has to be addressed simultaneously in order for the child to receive the best outcomes. So what we see is when the gut support is occurring, we definitely see the child is more regulated, but it takes a long time. So we are addressing a lot of things over a long time. So what we do see is with the gut health, because lots of patients are on probiotics or prebiotics, and so we're not getting the results as fast as possible. And because there is a gut permeability issue and a leaky gut issue, the absorption of nutrients is not as efficient. So they're giving lots of different vitamins and minerals, which are amazing because the body needs them. However, they're not being absorbed as well. So we see greater results in focus and mental clarity in children, definitely, but it's taking a lot longer than we'd hope.
You know, I agree with you, Dr. Nageena. One of the things that I'd mentioned just briefly regarding Teknon is because of the absorption issue. Anybody that has a disrupted gut has a problem absorbing the nutrients they do ingest and absorbing them properly. So we actually spent 2 years and we created a patented absorption ingredient. There's actually a series of ingredients, okay, an absorption formula that increases absorption by 300% and the rate of absorption by 500%. The reason the rate of absorption is important is because, and this is true with everybody, not just autistic people, but when the nutrients hit the acid in our gut, the acid actually kills most of the active nutrients. And if you have a disrupted gut, you kill the active nutrients that you need, and you don't absorb the balance of them. So we specifically tried to address that with DERDS, which is one of our ingredients, or a series of ingredients that's in Teknon.
So John, parents come to me saying that their children are becoming more calmer and regulated after taking Teknon, which I've recently introduced into my practice. And they've noticed the calmness and better eye contact with Teknon. So what scientific backgrounds can you share with the viewers today about how this is working, what the mechanisms are?
Well, the medical world, the scientific world now knows that if you treat the gut, you can affect many different types of neurological symptoms. We now know that you can treat the gut. If you treat the gut, you can provide significant benefits for people with schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, stress, etc. And what we found and what Teknon has been designed to do is to dampen down the inflammation in the gut, which allows for better absorption of the proper nutrients that you need for health. And look, the facts are this, and they're not refutable, that and that is that if you heal the gut, you heal the body, which includes the brain. So what Teknon is designed to do is dampen down inflammation in the gut, to increase permeability, to help heal the lining in the gut. Dr. Nageena, the gut itself, the lining in the gut, the epithelia, is replaced every 3 to 7 days. Otherwise, we would dissolve ourselves in their gut acid. So you have to constantly treat it and keep treating it, because all of the people on the autism spectrum, all of them, have a disrupted gut. So we have to help heal the microbiome. And by doing that, we increase the good bacteria that's available for utilization within the gut, and we help defeat the bad bacteria, okay, so that their ratios come more into balance. Okay, and once you start that process, dampening down inflammation and creating the proper bacteria and proper ratios of those bacteria within the gut, then you start getting the improvements, because all the signals that are transmitted neurologically to the brain emanate in the gut. And they go up through the vagus nerve, which is the gut-brain axis. And when you've done that, it dampened down the inflammation, improved the bacteria populations and the ratios of populations, and toned the vagus nerve, you get better responses in the brain.
And this perfectly aligns with the work I do as well. This is incredible because we work on the reflexes of the brain, which we'll talk about. And it's been incredible to see that the gut permeability and this Teknon technology to help calm down the inflammation and the permeability of the gut is going to allow for the brain to function more effectively and more efficiently. So this is amazing. Thank you.
Well, great, thank you. I'd like to add a little bit more to that. Based on today's diet worldwide, as you well know, Dr. Nageena, we're all slowly, and in some cases quickly, killing ourselves. Highly processed foods, too much sugar in our diet, and nobody seems to be wanting to change it. But there's one other thing that causes me as a researcher quite a bit of agony, and that is, even if you ate the right foods and organic foods, you're not going to get the right amount of nutrients. What research has proven over the last 25 years is that foods that were available in 1970, that same food, even though it's organic and pure and all these things, we're getting 40% less active nutrients out of the same food. So if we don't specifically address our nutritional needs, and one thing about Teknon is it's nutrient dense, and it specifically targets the type of nutrients that are deficient in most people on the spectrum.
This is amazing because this is exactly what I talk to my patients about. They're like, we have an organic diet, we're using all of the right foods. And I say it's nutritionally deplete compared to what it used to be. So we need additional support, definitely, to help the body thrive.
And specifically targeted support.
Absolutely.
You don't need, the body needs nano amounts of a wide variety of nutrients, not massive amounts of any one or two. And most people that are on the spectrum, okay, are nutrient deficient in some element. I mean, it's not just folate, it's not just vitamin D3, it's a wide range of them. And the body is much healthier if they derive the necessary required nutrients from natural plant-based foods, which is what we provide through Teknon. I would like to address, Dr. Nageena, primitive reflexes and gut inflammation. When reflexes remain active, what challenges does that create for a child's posture, coordination, learning, and emotional control?
So as you know, the gut contributes to general health and well-being and overall brain function as well. So when we're looking at the development of a child from utero, the reflexes are present to allow for survival processes to occur. If any of these are remaining active or unintegrated after the first year of life, this will not allow the cortical influences to take over the autonomic nervous system. And generally, in the first 3 years of life, the brainstem is what is driving the gut to remain a little bit permeable so that we can have the mother's immunoglobulins to pass through initially. But this needs to then become a bit more regulated and healed and sealed so that the tight junctions become tighter. If there's permeability left in there, the reflexes can contribute to this. So we need to we need to integrate the reflexes in order for the brain to then have the cortical influence to take over the autonomic nervous system. So without the reflex integration simultaneously working on the gut, we're not going to get the optimum improvements in brain health and in the gut health. So I've seen children, John, with gut irritation and retained reflexes. Can you explain why these two systems may be interconnected?
Well, the best way I can answer that is the gut is the university for the brain. Most of the signals that the brain uses to tell the body what to do, laugh, cry, move your right hand, jump, okay, emanate originally from the gut. And they function through the gut-brain axis, which is the signal initiates in the gut, goes to the vagus nerve, and then goes to the proper lobe of the brain for action. And if and in everybody that's on the spectrum that I've been able to identify, they all have a significantly disrupted gut. And that's caused by inflammation and improper populations of and the right enzymes and bacteria in the gut. And so if you don't dampen down the inflammation and correct the populations in the gut of the correct bacteria and enzymes and the ratios of those two, they have to be in a proper ratio, so that the signal goes to the vagus nerve, which then has to also be toned, okay, to function properly, which you can do every day. If you take Teknon, that does happen, okay? Then the proper signal goes to the brain, okay, in the proper sequences. And then, the neurological symptoms are the ones we expect or are looking for. If the proper signal does not go through from the gut to the vagus nerve and into the brain, then you get behavior that's different than what we're expecting. So specifically what we attempt to do is dampen down inflammation, improve gut permeability, and improve the populations of the right bacteria and enzymes and the ratios of those populations.
That's brilliant, because this will then allow my work to be much easier when I'm integrating the reflexes, and we'll get much better maturity in the brainstem and then to the cortical function of the brain too. So it works hand in hand. It's great.
Dr. Nageena, you work with reflex integration and light therapy. What changes do you observe in children whose gut issues are also improving, regardless of how they address the gut?
So when we're doing reflex integration work, we do see improvements in gut health also, because as the brainstem is maturing in the reflexes, this allows for gut permeability to decrease. We improve the vagal tone of the body. This allows for more balanced gut health too. But without the right nutrients in the gut, we're not going to get the optimum functioning, because we know that in the gut we get a lot of the neurotransmitters being produced. So without gut health being, concurrently worked with the reflex and hemispheric integration work, which I'd use with the Manila method, it works more efficiently when we address the whole child, so the gut health and the brain health, because without doing both together, we're not going to get the results we're looking for in emotional regulation and connection, communication, interaction. So we really need to work with all areas of the body together so that we can get the optimum outcome for the child.
You just addressed why most treatments for people on the autism spectrum disorder do not work. They only look at one specific thing. They're trying to attack strictly the neurological symptom, but you have to address where the symptom emanates from, which is always the gut. So thank you for that.
So, John, many parents report better sleep, focus, behavior, and reduction in gut inflammation. How does Teknon specifically support these improvements from a biological perspective?
Well, I have to address that in a couple of ways, but Teknon from the ground up, when it was being designed, was based on biologically plausible ingredients that have been clinically proven to improve sleep and behavior issues. We all know that we have to have sleep or we're not healthy, okay? And most people know that our body repairs itself when we're at rest, which is sleep. So If you're not getting rest or you're not getting quality sleep or REM sleep, then the body can't repair itself. And autistic children and people, they don't sleep properly. They don't go to sleep 2 or 3 in the morning instead of, at 8. I know I'm old school. I'm old, so I came from the days where we put our children to bed at 8. I know that's not done now, but that's what we did. And as long as the child is getting the proper amount of REM sleep, then the body heals itself. Okay. And if you get the gut-brain axis to function correctly, then the signals that tell the body to function correctly get through correctly or
Absolutely.
properly. So every single ingredient in Teknon is based on an ancient diet. Okay. So the body recognizes the shape of the molecule. Whatever we ingest, okay, this is why highly processed food doesn't work on people. It's destructive. It's because whatever we ingest, okay, whether it's liquid or solid, if the enzymes and bacteria in our gut recognize the shape of the molecule, it is ingested as nutrition and utilized by the body as nutrition. If they don't recognize the shape of the molecule, it's rejected, and the body then fights it as a foreign substance. So every ingredient within Teknon is based on this formula that we at Pure Life have followed, and that is every ingredient is at least 1,000,000 years old. Look, there are over 400,000 plant species in the world. Of those, about 50,000 of them have medicinal properties. Some of them are beneficial and some of them are detrimental and do harm, okay? But of those 50,000, only about 2,500 of them are 1,000,000 years old or older. Now, science keeps changing the rules on me, okay? So how old is man and how long we've been here or the basis of us? It went from 250,000 years ago to 600,000 years ago in the last couple of years. But whatever the reality is, it's a long, long time ago. And there were a couple of very controversial studies that were done in the United States at a major university that showed that it takes essentially a single human cell, approximately 31,500 generations, to adapt to a single new food source. Well, that's about 620,000 years ago. I don't know anybody 620,000 years old, except for me, okay? And so the food resources that we're eating are primarily not genetically compatible. And um, we wanted to develop something based on our research that was genetically compatible to every ethnic group, regardless of where they came from geographically in the world. To do that, we had to use ancient plant resources. And plant foods are the primary diet, or were the primary diet of our ancient ancestors. Okay, you can't just eat what your grandfather or your father or your great-grandfather and grandmother ate. You gotta go back 1,000,000,000 years to get foods that are actually going to be adapted and utilized fully
Well,
by our body.
yeah, and this makes perfect sense because more of the food has changed in the past 100 years alone. The amount of sugar intake, the amount of processed foods that the body probably doesn't recognize at all, that's creating more inflammation and more gut dysbiosis. So we're in a vicious circle where there's this, we're consuming foods that the body's not really recognizing and digesting or utilizing efficiently. So it's amazing that you're using ancient technology, not ancient technology per se, but using foods that have been recognized by the human body for hundreds of years.
Agreed. Look, to work through the science behind Teknon, I literally decided that I couldn't find enough of the ingredients that met our criteria. I literally went to Africa, to Southern Africa, at 3 countries, and I tried to research what was available because back when I started this, all the scientists were saying that man emanated out of South Africa, okay? So I wanted to see, well, what food resources were being consumed, you know, 500,000 years ago, 250,000 years
Yeah.
ago is what they were telling us at the time. I couldn't find many of them. We literally had to rent some farms they weren't commercially available. So we had to rent some farms to start growing some of these so we could even utilize them for testing. And then once we'd done all of that, I I I also went to the Sudan, which they're now saying that we probably emanated from instead of South Africa. But I didn't find all my answers. Once we had done the work with the ingredients, the plant ingredients we were with, they solved some of our questions, but not nearly all of them. So I came to the conclusion that the oldest continent in the world is Australia, and it used to be connected to Africa, okay, so especially Southern Africa. So I thought, well, I'll go to Australia and I'll see what food resources the natives, the original people of Australia, what they ate. I spent 1 year, and I have to be honest with you, it's one of the worst years of my life. I met every insect known to man and most of the snakes. But I went and lived for 1 year on an Aboriginal community where they've isolated themselves from from Western civilization. In Australia, the average lifespan of an Aboriginal is about 42 years. Now, that's half the lifespan of the rest of the population groups. I I can't accept to have one ethnic grouping have half the lifespan of the rest in a tier 1 medical country. So I wanted to go find out what they were eating that improved those number of years. And really what I identified is they were primarily eating a plant-based diet, and it was mostly roots where they got the right kind of fibers, okay, or fiber in their diet. So after spending a year there and comparing what needed to be done, I had to do the same thing. Most of those plants were only available in that type of setting. You couldn't commercially acquire them. So again, we rented some farms and had them grow the type of plants that we needed, roots primarily, and then came back and combined them and made enormous strides in the success of the product. We still lacked one thing, though, to be honest with you, and this is another ancient food. Um, one of the people on our staff, he's actually our vice president and chief science officer, Dr. Aftab Ahmed, told me we're missing something in the formula, and it needs to be based on some ancient type of probiotics and prebiotics that are naturally occurring. Okay, and what we found was that in the colostrum of a specific type of camel milk, and don't let me mislead anybody, you can't go buy camel milk and have it do the same thing because it won't. You need a 3-protein mix that comes out of this specific uh, colostrum, okay? And we added that to our formula, and we had success.
Why was that used, Mr. John? Why was that particular colostrum used?
Because it's virtually bioidentical to a newborn mother's nursing milk. And the finest nutrition on earth is a new mother's nursing milk. It's what mankind utilized to develop their immune system, their neural system, everything to do with their growth pattern. They used nursing milk. Okay, look, no man has been able to replicate a new mother's nursing milk. It is the finest nutrition available in the world. Okay, it's just in today's world, how many mothers are having C-sections, which means the child loses 67% of its the bacteria for its immune system that they normally would get through vaginal birth, and how many of them don't nurse anymore? That's what gives your child the start. Look, our research showed that for the absolute health of the child, a new mother should nurse for at least 2 years. I don't know anybody that nurses for 2 years anymore, okay? But that's what we as humans develop the need to develop all of our from the neurotransmitters to our immune system so that our body function properly. So what we tried to do is replicate that. And I want to be very clear because this is a real sore point with me. Forgive me, I'm just voicing my own opinion. Virtually all of the of the infant formulas that are available out there are terrible for your child. Yet we feed them to every child every day. So we are not giving our child a chance to develop normally as we throughout history have developed. So what we tried to do as best we can, and we've proven it to be successful to this point, we tried to replicate what nature gave us and what our ancient ancestors utilized, and they knew instinctively that the body needs this, but it doesn't need that. And that's what we tried to use to create the base formula for Teknon.
That's amazing. That's incredibly inspiring. So, John, please tell me why parents often ask me, Teknon helps their child feel a bit more regulated, calmer, more focused, and more aware. Can you explain which components of the formula perhaps can help support the sensory regulation, attention, sleep, perhaps behavior control, and emotional stability as well?
Well, I'd rather answer that in a different way than
Sure.
to break down individual components, okay? Because Teknon has 42 ingredients in it, okay? There's too many to name. They're all meant to achieve, as I said earlier, based on previous science done independently of us, so that they were biologically plausible that they would do this, which is what we were looking to accomplish, okay? We wanted it to accomplish. And Teknon is also molecularly balanced. This is just an example, okay? Let's say that the body has 50 mechanisms of actions to function properly, okay? Based on the food or their intake, whatever they ingest. You can't just give it mechanism 7 and 20 and 31 and 42 because it confuses your system. And then you get the reaction you see with abnormal behavior. What we do is we took each ingredient from the first one that we thought was the base, okay? And as we added each one, we balanced them so ingredient 1 and ingredient 2 cause function 3 to happen, and 1, 2, and 3 cause 4 to happen, and all the way through the process till we got through all the mechanisms of action that the body needed. So they're all about, you can't take one out or just add one because then they don't work together. I've seen so many reports that says, oh, if you're on the autism spectrum, you're deficient in vitamin D3. You might be, but you're also deficient in many other things. You can't just give D3 and expect fantastic results. You have to have a nutrient-dense, broad-ranging spectrum of nutrients at the same time. Autism is it's a very broad disorder that you have to attack it simultaneously from many different angles to hope to achieve a good result in the end. And that's what Teknon has made every effort to do, and we've had good success in it. We found that there are certain ingredients that are specifically tied to improving sleep, okay? And I have to want to say melatonin is not one of those. We have certain ingredient, but GABA is, and GABA is produced in the body, but you need more of it when you're on the spectrum. So yes, we do have that, all right? However, all of them have to tie together to achieve the proper total overall result. So it takes all 42 to get from point A to point Z.
That was amazing because that's exactly how the brain develops. Also, we can't do one or two things. We have to integrate the reflexes. We've got to integrate the hemispheric imbalance to get the whole body to work together. And it's incredible because if we have a gut dysbiosis, then we need that additional nutrient because the neurotransmitters are not going to be produced because they're produced in the intestinal lining and in the enteric nervous system. So it makes perfect sense that you're going to need this technology and this plant-based science to help optimize the gut health so we can then get the children functioning at the optimum.
What people have to realize is that when you start treating a disorder, because it is not a disease, but when you start treating a disorder like autism, There are three types of dysbiosis that exist with an autistic person. One is the dysbiosis of the gut. Two is the dysbiosis in the sinus system. Three is the dysbiosis in the eyes. That's why your light therapy is effective. And if you treat and if you combine those uh, modalities, then you get outstanding results. But if you don't treat the gut, the other two, you'll see marginal improvements, but you won't get the type of wide-ranging improvements you want to see. But if you will treat the gut, then the sinuses, and then the optic nerves, you get tremendous progress.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible because the whole body needs to be worked on simultaneously for optimum results. And the children we see are perfect. We just need to help them have the best body to help them function better.
And the children we have deserve our efforts in every way we can. And I want to say one thing to medical practitioners and especially to parents. One of the things I found is most doctors are against, are not very favorable towards nutrition as a treatment modality. However, you have to ask yourself as a parent, how long have I been going to have these specific types of treatment and what kind of success have I had? I have many parents that tell me I've been going 5 years, I've been going 3 years, I've been going 7 years. Well, how much progress have you had? Well, not much. Well, as our conversation earlier, um, if you're trying to accomplish something, okay, that you haven't been able to accomplish to this date, then you need to be open-minded, okay, and try something you haven't tried before. Your child deserves it.
100%. 100%. Absolutely.
Dr. Nageena, why do so many children with ASD or ADHD show symptoms of gut inflammation, constipation, diarrhea, picky eating, and bloating?
So in my experience with, I do a lot of work with Malilla method. It's designed to look at the neurodevelopmental stages of a child's development and how this can impact gut health and overall functional connectivity of the brain. So if the child hasn't integrated the reflexes in the first year of life, this will create an increase in the leaky gut. It will cause an increase in the sympathetic tone of the body. There'll be increased cortisol. There'll be increased gut permeability that allows for molecules to pass through, create more inflammation in the brain, decrease connectivity of the both of the hemispheres, and allow the child to remain dysregulated, not able to communicate effectively, not able to integrate fully within their own social circles. So what I find is that in the first year of life, it's very important to ensure that the reflexes of the brain are integrated in order for the cortical influence to take over the autonomic nervous system, in order for the gut health to be developed appropriately and effectively. If there's any retention in these reflexes in the first year of life, we're going to get a gut permeability that will sustain. And this can create more dysbiosis as the child grows if we're not addressing this. So if there's any disturbances in the gut, you will see diarrhea, constipation, depending on which neurotransmitters are not being developed adequately. So we need all of the gut health and microbiome to be efficient and optimal for the child to develop optimally. So we need to work on both.
I agree fully.
And why do you think therapy sometimes plateau until gut inflammation is reduced, John?
Because if you don't treat the source of the disorder or the symptom, the problem never goes away. You have to treat the inflammation and you have to treat the bacterial populations and their ratios. There's one other thing that we found that's also true with people on the spectrum. Virtually all, if not all, have a mitochondrial dysfunction or degradation, right? And one of the things that we do with Teknon is we have the only clinically proven, and I have to say it's astronomically expensive, but it's the only clinically proven natural plant ingredient that actually causes regeneration of the mitochondria. And to be honest with you, it's you can't use synthetic because the gut, it's real cheap if you use synthetic. It's called PQQ. It's real cheap if you use synthetic PQQ, which is what about all that's available out there. But your gut, the enzymes in your gut don't recognize the shape of the molecule. So it doesn't work. So you have to use, and it's patented, and it's only available from one place in the entire world. And we try to acquire 100% of their production every year. And it's a plant, and it's patented and it's been clinically proven. But depending on the time of the year and what the harvest was like, it costs from 13,000 a kilogram to 80,000 a kilogram. However, if you're looking to uh, create something that's genuinely going to help the people you're trying to help, cost is not the most important issue. Results are. So that's why we're including it in Teknon.
That's incredible. So it's available in Teknon,
It is
this
available in Teknon.
product.
Yes.
That's
Awesome. Because mitochondrial degradation is an issue in every autistic person we've tested. And if you don't, it's the energy plan in every cell. It's what makes the cells function. If you don't regenerate it, you're always going to be fighting against yourself. So we have to.
That's amazing.
And you can't, I want to caution people. You can't just go out and buy PQQ, and because first of all, it's going to be synthetic and it won't work. But second of all, you need a molecularly balanced approach so the body absorbs and utilizes at a cellular level all of the mechanisms of actions required.
And how quickly would you see results in children if they started to take Teknon?
It varies because everybody's body is different and so on. Here's what we've seen. Usually within 3 weeks, the parents will start seeing an improvement in 1 or 3 areas specifically. One will be their sleep patterns will improve within this 3-week period. Now, there are some that are outside of that. We've had some that took 3 months, but the majority will be within a 3-week period. And sometimes as early as a week, but say 3 weeks. Their sleep patterns will improve. They'll be much calmer. Their symptoms of aggravated behavior and anxiety and stress will all significantly improve, and their digestive system will noticeably improve, whether they have constipation or diarrhea or switch between the two. Those 3 areas will significantly improve, noticeably improve, identifiably improve within approximately 3 weeks. Within 3 months, for sure, you'll see those 3 improvements, okay? And after, on an ongoing basis, after you continuously use it according to protocol, which is based on age and severity of symptoms, but if you use it according to the protocol, on an ongoing basis, you'll see the symptoms continue to improve more and more, and you'll see more symptoms improve. If your child is nonverbal, okay, it can take 6 months, it can take 13 months before they start to communicate properly and, the way you would like them to communicate with you. But I also want to emphasize, Teknon will absolutely, in the majority of all autistic cases, if not all, but everybody's body's different. You always are going to have some that don't, but in majority of all of them, they'll have significant improvement. And they'll have it quickly. You don't have to wait 2 years like if you take ABA therapy. It's very expensive, very time-consuming, and it takes a long time before you really start seeing much in the way of improvement. With Teknon, that's not true. However, I don't want to mislead anybody. It is not a cure, okay? Don't expect a miracle to happen the first day you take it, okay? And you will, as with any other treatment protocol, okay, that includes a medicine of any type, you have to stay on it on an ongoing basis. Now, after they've achieved an improvement balance that you're happy with, then most of the time they can go on a maintenance dosage, which everybody for the first 90 days needs to take it twice a day, at least approximately 12 hours apart. The reason for that is the body utilizes or evacuates most of its nutrients every 12 to 16 hours. And you want the body to have it, especially if you have a disorder or a dysfunction anyway, you want the body to have the proper nutrients available all 24 hours, and especially during the evening hours when the body's at rest and repairing itself. So you want to take it approximately 12 hours apart, give or take, you have a little room to maneuver there. But for example, if you give it to them at 7 o'clock in the morning, then give it to them again at 7 o'clock at night. Do not give it too late, or they may not sleep the same. You want to give it to them, 7 o'clock or earlier. The latest, we actually like a 6 and 6 time frame, the best, 6 in the a.m. and then 6 p.m. But you have to work it within your own schedule, all right? But I also want to caution everybody, because people on the spectrum are very taste, texture sensitive, please be creative in getting them to take it. Some will like it, some won't like it, some will hate it, some will take it grudgingly, but it doesn't help them if they don't get it into their body. So please be as creative as you can be until you learn what will help your child to willingly take it twice a day. After 3 months, if you're seeing the improvements that you're looking for, all right, then sometimes you can go to a maintenance dosage of one dosage a day instead of two. Some children, regardless of age, need to stay on two. If they're older, 15 and older, they'll need to stay on two for longer, because their brain function changes at 15 and their body is changing, okay? So you're going to want to stay on the dosage for a longer period of time. Eventually, you'll be able to get to a maintenance dose of one a day instead of two a day. But everybody's body is different, including your child. So what your child needs is what you need to do. Dr. Nageena, there's one thing I'd like to address so everybody can have a clearer picture of why the food sources available to mankind today are more harmful than they are helpful. They keep us alive while they slowly destroy us, all right? Our food sources all changed in World War II, about 1945. And the reason for that is that while the world was trying to fight World War II, they had to come up with a way to get the proper amount of calories and fat to the soldiers in the field who were doing the fighting, okay, so they could stay alive and had the energy to do it. And to do that, they had to focus on, high calorie, high fat food. And that's not naturally available in a way that you could make it stay edible for long periods of time and in not the best of conditions, weather-wise. You can't have winter in Europe all year long, all right? So to keep it cold. And also they did one other thing. They had to deliver it in sealed packages that were hygienic and sanitary and so on. The problem is they coated all those cans with a known hormone disruptor, okay? Which, by the way, is still in many of the cans that we get our canned foods and our soft drinks and everything else from today. So we're disrupting our hormones still. But beginning in 1945, we started processing our food, instead of eating natural foods that were grown in the garden, okay? Like when I grew up, which was a long time ago, admittedly, when I grew up, all the fruits and not fruits, all the vegetables that we ate were grown by my mother in the garden. And the reason I know that up close and personally is because I'm the one who had to go pick them, okay? Thank God she cooked them. But nowadays, everybody buys it out of a can, or they buy it in the grocery store, and it's sprayed with insecticides and everything known to kill every bug and fertilizers and everything else, which again harms our system when we ingest them. We stopped preserving our food with salt and drying the foods. Now we were taking foods and we stick them in a refrigerator, which prior to 1945 really, after 1945 really wasn't available. So we're eating old food, okay, which a lot of the actives have died already, and we're eating processed foods. We're eating foods that are sealed in with known hormone disruptors. So everything we've done to make our life easier has actually been harmful to our health. So that's why Teknon was formulated in a way that we return to the way it was, not only the food sources, but the way they're prepared as was prior to 1945. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
That's incredible. Thank you.